It is Galactic Year 2020. Corporate overlords fight for control of ruined, deserted cities. The middle class has all but evaporated, and new governmental powers from far-off lands seek financial domination over old-world superpowers. The future is bleak, and humanity is now turning to transnational cybersex for guidance. Religious zealots and cults, with their leaders just as crazy.
Climate emergency. That's what we have never found the scientists about.
None of what I just said at the beginning was that much of an exaggeration. This is an actual, genuine, honest-to-God cult I was able to come across on YouTube. They were advertising on the platform. Yeah, I'm surprised too. These weird ads that I came across on YouTube describe something called the Kuan Yin method, as well as a call to action. They demanded a very simple change of me. One change that they said, if we all did right now, would stop the entire collapse of our planet. It would save us all. This message to me was to go vegan. The ad argued that if I would turn vegan, that it would stop the Backstreet Boys World Tour that is currently happening. The cult was using this as a platform to advertise their cause, a cause for why you should worship their religion. The ad you're seeing right now on screen is the ad I saw as well, and that ad is sitting at over 1 million views right now. In this ad, I can describe what happened, but I actually just cannot show you what is in this. It shows factory farms and pretty much most of the things we're familiar with from vegan activists. Violent footage of animals being slaughtered, pigs and their throats being slit open. And this was advertising on a video about everyday carry. Don't know why that was there.
Is angry. Earth is angry. The nature is angry. All this angry, anguish, energy is all aiming at us. This will wipe out the whole world if we don't act now. If we don't turn to vegan now, help the planet, rescue the...
The woman speaking to you right now in this clip is a living god, at least according to her followers. Her original name is Huang Dong Trin, but her followers call her Supreme Master Ching Hai. By the way, there's going to be a lot of Vietnamese names in this video, so if I butcher them, that's my apologies, but, you know, I'm gonna at least try. Supreme Master Ching Hai holds the title of being the leader of the world's largest growing cult. Now, this cult has become so successful for a myriad of reasons that we're gonna talk about today, but I can tell you, without a doubt, this is a cult. This is not me joking around. Do not go to their websites without a VPN. Do not do it.
And now I'd like to invite to the stage the Honorable Mike Davis, California State Assembly member for the 48th Assembly District.
Because we think with the mind, we think we're separated, but never ever we are separated.
I always say that I pray heaven to bless you, your country, and all the person you love.
She's been personally recognized by leaders like Barack Obama and Bill Clinton. Ching Hai can often be seen wearing gaudy dresses, being followed by a gaggle of security guards, and driving in the back of expensive limousines. She and her organization, her religion, have been blasting news about their good work around the world 24/7, on air, on cable television, on satellite television, and online. 24 hours a day, they prophetize and make news about NGOs and people doing good deeds in poorer regions of the country. Most of the news that appears on their news network, which is called Supreme Master Television, is usually stuff about NGOs, non-government organizations that basically go and clean up water or, you know, provide health care. Routinely, they have been seen, you know, saying really nice things about organizations like the Rockefeller Foundation. But before we get into all the fun conspiracy stuff, especially the part about the whole restaurant she runs, let's talk about who Supreme Master Ching Hai is. Who exactly is this woman who's been called the next Buddha? Is she really God's direct contact, or is she just another piece to the puzzle that is God Inc.?
Eating animal flesh, meaning we are decreasing our love in our being from our structure, holy structure. We are born from God. We were holy. We were true humans. We were true children of God. But if we eat the animals, then the mixing of blood type and genetic code between human and animals makes us lose our status as the crown of creation, as true humans, because we became mixing and mixing structure, not pure. We became hybrid, vulnerable to attack from the dark force, because we are not pure anymore.
In researching this topic, I noticed there was a bit of an issue with finding out who exactly Qinghai was before Qinghai was Qinghai. As with most living gods and characters of semi-fiction in their own religions, Qinghai's entire backstory is pretty much fictionalized. It's really hard to tell exactly where she is or where she's from. We do know that she is Vietnamese born, though. Now, according to Qinghai, she was born in a small Vietnamese village. The woman also had origin stories like she's traveled around with monks in Germany, learning the ways of Buddhism. But then there's also another story saying that her grandmother taught her about Buddhism before she discovered the meditation method known as Kuan Yin method. She discovered it, she did not invent it, according to her. There's also other stories proclaiming her semi-godlike or demigod status in examples like she went to India at one point, and in this bookstore in India, she came across a hidden Bhagavad Gita inside the bookshop. She was able to sense it using her third eye. Again, this is something that I cannot even fact check. All of this information comes from the cult. Now, according to her official biography, she was the daughter of natural medicine practitioners. Today, we might call what these people do alternative medicine or natural science. Though I'm sure those of you amongst the scientific community might know these people as snake oil salesmen or panacea peddlers, as I like to call them. Apparently, after spending time in the Himalayas learning about Buddhism, she discovered the Kuan Yin method and achieved enlightenment, like the total enlightenment, and has been able to live and been conscious of her many past lives, saying that she has been kings, diplomats, and various political figures throughout world history, kind of like the Emperor of Man. Apparently, when she achieved enlightenment, she became the direct contact to God and routinely and frequently communicates with God on a regular basis. If you go to the homepage of her website, and she has many, in fact, I found about 6 or 7, but I imagine there's more. But on her website, it says Supreme Master Qinghai, a renowned humanitarian, artist, and spiritual leader. Stay humble, Qinghai. As said before, the religion that she quote-unquote discovered is called the Kuan Yin method, and she doesn't call it a religion. In fact, she doesn't say it's a religion. She said that it's a method of meditation and that you don't necessarily have to be part of the religion to practice the meditation. Regardless, many experts in religious studies agree that it is one of the fastest growing New Age religions. Now, we can place a lot of this on the rise of the internet, because with the rise of the internet, she was able to go about and collect more members from around the globe, just using online forums and different websites and talking about meditation. She had been doing this way before the internet was a thing, though, by the way. And she did come onto the radar in national news media in the early 2000s, but under the fervor and noise of the war on terror, this story about this little old lady making millions of dollars from vegan restaurants that were apparently run by a cult got swept under the rug. In fact, it was thanks to all these vegan restaurants that she was able to gain a significant foothold here in the Western world, and you can see her methods really talked about in all of the alternative medicine space and New Age space as well. But what exactly does one have to do in order to achieve enlightenment in the Kuan Yin method? Well, I decided to go looking around for what exactly it takes to be a part of the Kuan Yin method. In reality, it's actually a pretty short list of things you have to do in order to be considered a part of this religion and in order to be a regular practitioner of it. Though I'd imagine that depending on the amount of money you give, you might move up the ranks more. Don't worry, they got their lectures just like some other groups do.
And now I'd like to invite to the stage the Honorable Mike Davis, California State Assembly member for the 48th Assembly District.
And on behalf of President Barack Obama, he will present the U.S. President's Volunteer Service Award to Supreme Master Chin Hai.
Barack Obama has recognized Supreme Master Ching Hai for her dedicated years of service and humanitarian efforts. To date, she has donated more than $20 million in charity and relief efforts around the world over the past 2 decades. On behalf of President Obama, I would like to now read a part of his letter to Supreme Master Ching Hai. To Supreme Master Ching Hai, congratulations on receiving the President's Volunteer Service Award, and thank you for helping to address the most pressing needs in your community and our country. Your volunteer service demonstrates the kind of commitment to your community that moves America a step closer to its great promise. Thank you for your devotion to service and for doing all you can to shape a better tomorrow for our great nation. And it's signed, Barack Obama, President of the greatest nation on earth, United States of America.
But let me describe Kuan Yin method to you. So according to her, Kuan Yin method is meditation that requires no effort and happens in an instant. All you have to do is join in on all the tenets of Kuan Yin method and you will immediately have instant contact to God as long as you follow all the precepts. Now, some of this is translated from a foreign language, so they say one of the requirements is a complete vegetarian vegan diet. They mean a vegan lactose-free diet. They also say to be virtuous and to meditate every day. This time that you have to meditate is 2.5 hours daily. Here is a direct quote from one of the master's lectures. If you live on an animal diet, that is detrimental to your spiritual health. And now when I tell you the secret is to cut it off, it is for your own good. There's no need to change anything. No need to change your job. No need to change social contact or religion. If you're Christian, be so. If you're Jewish, believe that. If you are in any religion, any sect, you are free to stay there. I just tell you how to acquire your own highest power inside. And that is what you or any religion would name the highest. The Buddhists name this highest. The Christians name this as the highest. And I want you all to find that power. That's all. Basically, anybody in any religion can be also a part of this method of meditation, which differentiates this from other religious groups by saying everyone is welcome, though there's a very large caveat to those that are welcome in the religion or not. But if we're gonna break down to 5 precepts that are requirements in order to participate in Kuan Yin method, you gotta lay them out real plainly for me. And don't worry, they do. So here are the 5 precepts that you need to follow. Refrain from taking the life of sentient beings. And there's an asterisk here that says this precept requires strict adherence to a vegan, lacto-vegetarian diet, no meat, fish, poultry, or eggs, fertilized or non-fertilized. 2, refrain from speaking what is not true. 3, refrain from not taking what is not offered. 4, refrain from sexual misconduct. 5, refrain from use of intoxicants. And now this one has asterisk as well. It says this includes avoiding all poisons of any kind, such as alcohol, drugs, tobacco, gambling, pornography, excessive violent films, or literature. Now, according to Ching Hai, her reasoning as to why we shouldn't consume animals is the, quote, mixing of elements. Apparently, animals' blood and humans' blood mixes when we consume an animal, and through this, our genetic codes get confused and mixed up. And through this semi-science words, she apparently says that we've become hybrids, and we've lost contact with God specifically because we've gone away from not eating only vegetables, and that when humanity first came into existence, they didn't eat animals. Apparently, through this process by which we become hybrids, the universe can't detect what's truly human. And that because it can't detect what's truly human or not, well, the universe is allowed to exhibit dark forces onto hybrids over real humans. Apparently, it's by this way that the universe is accidentally, in a way, killing us. Apparently, by eating animals, this is leading to the universe creating extinction events that will wipe us off the face of the earth. And that if we do not go vegan, the human race as we know it will cease to exist because we have been commingling and eating animals. Apparently, through these extinction events, according to Ching Hai, our being and self will be reincarnated and recycled into the universe for a better version of what we were, for a new life that won't eat other sentient life.
It's so hard to form connections when you can't shake hands.
So, in short, I guess you could say that one of the main practitioners' beliefs is that you have to be vegan, and that by eating meat, you're causing a cosmic imbalance that leads to things like the Backstreet Boys World Tour. Now, that might be the religion, but how does Ching Hai even run this operation? This is a pretty complex gig with lots of moving parts. Ching Hai has a lot going on, and she is a very, very talented businesswoman as much as she is a cult leader. Ching Hai is able to afford websites, camera gear, security, limos, you name it, she has it. She's even able to broadcast her TV channels everywhere around the world, 24/7. Now, I'll tell you, the footage is not much to sniff at.
Today's news. Uzbekistan embraces stateless people. Japan helps improve health of children in Iraq. Green energy advances in Poland. Cuba benefits from climate resiliency support. Growing number of young people adopt sober lifestyle in United Kingdom. PETA calls for vegan way of life to avoid future pandemics. And Gabon prohibits the sale and consumption of pets and pangolins. All this and more on Supreme Master Television, your constructive global TV channel.
Yeah, so that is Supreme Master Television, and I understand that it's pretty weird to look at. A lot of stock footage, a lot of stolen music, a lot of words on the screen, but that's because they send it around the world in so many different languages, they just add subtitles to the same screen. Videos like this are only possible with your contribution. You can support the channel by heading over to our merch store down below, or you can head over and support me on Patreon for exclusive content. Recently put out a video on personal management systems. If you're someone who's interested in productivity management, lifestyle, or just want to hear more about how I run this ship, you can go head over there. And if you buy my merch, take a picture when you have it. Tag me, so that way I can see it and know that people actually like to wear it. That'll help inform me, oh, what should I get or what should I make in the future? Now, Ching Hai is pretty wealthy, and I'm not particularly sure where she got her starting capital, but she is divorced, so it might have come from a previous husband. Though I couldn't find much information on this outside of like one article, but I can tell you about some of her ventures. In fact, some of you might have actually gone to one of her ventures before, or even ordered food from it. So, just in case you're unfamiliar with cult-run restaurants, let me introduce you to the Loving Hut. This is an international chain of vegan restaurants, and they operate pretty differently from a normal franchise. Ching Hai has actually been described as the Buddhist Martha, and this restaurant is exactly why. There's over 140 of these things around the world. In fact, I think there's one in California that Vice went to. So if you're out there and you really are craving cult food, go right ahead. But aside from just running the Loving Hut, she has a clothing line and jewelry line as well, which, by the way, both of those, there's a very good chance those are clothes and jewelry made by members of the religion, and there's a very good chance that those aren't ethically made, if you catch my drift. Not to mention, Ching Hai also gets generous donations, even though they say they don't accept donations. They get generous donations from, just very wealthy people. And she's even given money out to other wealthy people, in particular, Bill Clinton. But here's what's amazing about the restaurant. You can basically run it however you want as long as it follows Ching Hai's teachings, so it has to be total vegan. The restaurant is filled with famous philanthropists and vegan activists and famous vegans, right? And the restaurant is also filled with little notes that say, oh, go vegan and be like these famous people. One of which is famous vegan and friend of Jeffrey Epstein, Bill Clinton. Okay, I also guess Bill Clinton was president at one point as well, but you know, it's real hard to take him seriously, especially with this. Part of what makes these restaurants so incredibly interesting is what's happening inside on the television screens. That's right, the TV, the grainy box-shaped TVs in this fine dining, fast vegan food eatery are playing Supreme Master Television. I can't even begin to tell you how much Supreme Master Television I have watched leading up to this. Obviously, I'm not indoctrinated into a cult, but here's the thing. This is one of the most uncanny broadcasts I've seen in my entire life. Let me describe some of this to you because I physically, there's too much footage for me to sift through to always find what I'm exactly talking about, but I'm not making it up. So here's how they run a lot of this. I assume most of these newscasters are some guy in like a cheap voice box somewhere or something, and he has a camera pointed at his face to lip sync it, and they got like Face Rig running or an Xbox Kinect. Hell, maybe even a PlayStation Eye toy. Anyway, the newscasters on Supreme Master Television are all these weird moving After Effects tween and stretch JPEG people. And they're all incredibly racially diverse, almost, you know, comedically so. I'm waiting for the one kid in the wheelchair to show up. What makes it even a little more uncanny is that, you know, the guy who's African has a stereotypical African accent. The newscaster that's Asian has a very stereotypical Asian accent, and so on and so forth. The newscasters all sound like stereotyped versions of what these people would sound like in real life. Now, I assume the reasoning behind this is to, you know, they're trying to edge their bets in countries and areas where people are more likely to accept the religion, which is why they have a lot of active, you know, work in poorer countries. They do a lot of humanitarian service in places like Africa, or, you know, they're based out of Asia, so they get an Asian newscaster. So what I assume is a marketing ploy also comes off as little, you know. Now, Supreme Master TV is actually on YouTube as well, right? And I've gone to it a couple times, and the last time I went to it, 3,000 people were watching. 3,000. That's already too many. So in a independent investigation from Yahoo, they looked at the 990s to figure out where exactly this money was coming from and where it was going. And I gotta read this to you just verbatim because there's no other way for me to get it across. Websites state clearly, if rather defensively on the front page of their website, that the group neither asks for nor accepts donations, though a review of the IRS Financial Reporting Form 990 tells a different story. Still, a sample of these documents reveal little in the way of improper spending. Chuck McLean, Senior Research Fellow at GuideStar, a public charity that acts as a database for information about organizations in the nonprofit sector, reviewed the 990s of two of the largest American chapters of the group, Los Angeles, which reports over 1.2 million in assets more than any other chapter in the US, and San Jose, the parent organization of more than a dozen chapters across the country. Taking their 990 at face value, it seems unlikely that anyone is enriching themselves financially through these organizations, McLean wrote. I don't know what the associated business interests are about, but it appears that they have given almost all of their money to legitimate causes. He also noted that the refusal to accept donations is unusual, but not unheard of for a public charity. Now, they also went on to touch on the cult aspect. Now, I'm a little skeptical of the 990s and that information, given the apparent seen luxury that Ching Hai herself lives in comparison to a lot of her followers in countries where the GDP or you know, just the income of an average person is this. Rick Alan Ross, founder of the Cult Education Institute and author of the book Cults Inside Out, said that the CEI had received complaints from friends and loved ones of the group members who said they'd been so submersed in its activities that they had begun to neglect their families. Ross told me, unquestionably, that he classified the group as a cult. One such story appeared in North Wales Daily Post under the provocative headline, "Cult Took My Wife, Now It's Funding Woodlands in North Wales," describing an elderly man who claimed his wife had left him and their 10-year-old son for the group. The man urged the local trust to not accept a sizable donation from Qinghai, but he said the donation came because, it was to buy credibility. Now, I looked into this article, right? I wanted to see what this guy had to say to see if it was just a bunch of malarkey. Now, I can tell you that the guy is an anonymous source, and that with anonymous sources, you have to take it with a grain of salt. And he is divorced from his wife. However, the wife is a practitioner of Kuan Yin method. If you're curious how much Qinghai sent to the Woodland Trust in Wales, she sent 100,000 euros. The husband, who didn't give his real name, ended up saying the following about this, and more specifically about his wife. She would disappear at a moment's notice when Supreme Master called. Once on Christmas Eve, he said, often it was months at a time. We didn't even know what continent she was on. It put a drain on the family. She had a well-paid job, which she lost, and she started buying the cult's jewelry at 7,000 to 8,000 euros per item. I tried to accommodate her, but it was difficult. In the end, I filed for divorce to protect the family finances. His wife was always interested in Eastern mysticism, and she fell into the cult's clutches at a spiritualist fair in London. By the way, not saying businesses like the jewelry are a method of laundering money, right, from wealthy individuals. And that's just my opinion, and I don't know if that's true or that's what they do. But I've seen movies, and that's just my opinion. This whole video is just my opinion. Did I say that? Now, I keep joking about the cult's ties to the Clintons, and these are almost comedic in nature. It's just something about this family. They just get up to crazy, wacky stuff, American's family, Bill and Hillary Clinton. Love these guys. But, using various high-profile members of their religion, the Kuan Yin method is able to donate large sums of money to powerful individuals in order to fund their ends. Basically, bigger names in the church are going to act out on behalf of the church, giving money to certain causes depending on what the church believes in. This happens in a lot more religions, you see it over here in the West, where we got a bunch of lobbyists that all have their own political interests that pretty much control exactly what's being talked about inside the government. What makes Qinghai particularly interesting in her relation to the Clintons is that she gave the Clintons over $600,000. She gave that to the Clintons' legal defense fund during the Whitewater scandal. And I bet nobody knows what that is. Here's the definition of what that was. It's literally a scandal related to the Clintons' real estate investments. Not particularly interesting, and it's not the Monica Lewinsky thing. But she did give $600,000 to the legal defense fund for the family in order to fight this scandal. It was a big thing back in the day. It mattered to people. Now it doesn't. There's also weird cult propaganda saying that they have, personal ties together, but I can't find anything to substantiate that at all. Outside of, giving all that money to my favorite vegan, jazz-playing President Bill Clinton. There's also other events that got the cult on the kind of the bad side of the US government. In particular, there was this one event where cult members started buying up the bathwater of the supreme leader. Apparently, according to them, this was magic bathwater that Qinghai bathed in, and that it could cure things like everything. And this happened in 2004. Yeah. Guys, this happened 15 years before Belle Delphine's bathwater. Qinghai was the original e-girl, I guess. Since we're wrapping up a pretty large sheet here, in 2004 there was another particularly interesting thing that seems kind of like for a very nature-oriented group, why would you do this? But in 2004, they built an artificial island in the middle of a national park. I'm not even gonna say the name of the national park, but this is the name. Now, this How big was this island? It was like 400 square feet. Like, it was nothing. It wasn't a big island at all. But it caused $1 million in damages. Now, that little island they built was built by cult members, I assume under the dead of night, because it's not like you can make an island in broad daylight. But they did it anyway. Now, Ching Hai didn't just do this under her name, and I assume there might be some more pseudonyms that she goes by, but apparently this was done under the name Celestia de l'Amour. Luckily, the island was sold back to the people of Palmetto Bay, and you can actually visit the island made by a cult that caused $1 million in damages. Thank God it was auctioned off back to the people and it became a park. So I guess, you know, things have a way of working out and becoming part of a nature anyway, right? It's kind of like how Ching Hai teaches. One of my particularly favorite things is that Ching Hai received the Volunteer Service Medal. Now, she received this she received this from Obama, and I honestly can't tell if this is real or propaganda, because the only places I hear this from are like literally just propaganda sites that are run by the cult. So if there's an international database for volunteer service awards, please tell me about it, because, you know, government websites are trash. What makes Ching Hai even more amazing is that she's been awarded medals by humanitarian and wildlife groups around the world. Apparently, this woman is internationally recognized as a great force for rights of animals. So one particular one of note is Michael Greger, the Director of Public Health and Animal Agriculture with the Humane Society of the United States, and vegan nutrition specialist. A little bit of a mouthful there, all right? Yeah, I haven't had my coffee today. Give me a break. And he's also been hanging with Hai. In fact, he's actually spoke with Hai directly. So let me read another quote. In November, Michael Greger spoke at Washington, D.C. Climate Change Conference, hosted by Ching Hai's International Association. There's an interview of Greger on Supreme Master TV in which he talks about flu pandemics. Supreme Master TV also features a Greger lecture from last September conference in South Korea, Jeju Island. I'm sorry I'm butchering that. In September, Greger sent a video message to a Ching Hai Global Warming Conference in Peru. He's also featured in Supreme Master TV videos about a supposed connection between AIDS and swine flu. By the way, just to muddy the waters in what's right and wrong even more, I just want to say that the article that found out that Greger has ties to Ching Hai is run by an anti-humane society think tank propaganda group ran by a Washington, D.C. Financial lobbyist. I'm using a lot of dime worth words here, a lot of 10-cent words here. Let me put this in simple terms, right? Because this sounds like I'm talking nonsense, right? A man who is a rich lobbyist in Washington, D.C., pays money to a group to write pieces on humane society in a negative light, and then this group found out that one of the important voices in health sciences and agriculture also happens to hang out with a Vietnamese cult leader who thinks that meat turns people into human Priuses. And yes, here's a video. Here's a picture of him on Supreme Master Television. Here it is. They're not lying, but I just want to say it comes from people who have it in their best interest to say something bad about him. But again, here he is on Supreme Master TV. You can't make this up. Literally, guys, I thought I had to stop consuming cyberpunk fiction, but literally all I have to do is look outside the window and it's right there. It's all just right there. Now, the cult has also done other weird things where they give like really preferential treatment to specific foundations for some reason. Like Supreme Master Television like really likes to talk about the Rockefeller Foundation. Guys, they stream like 24/7, all right? There's so much crap. But I'm just saying it's weird, all right, guys? I'm not saying anything. You know, I'm not a crazy person, but you okay, you know? And then that's where we come up to now, where Ching Hai is advertising on YouTube with her almost hilariously violent ads in front of things that are not violent at all. I don't know how these ads got approved because some person has to approve them, which already sounds like somebody already knew what the ad was and approved it anyway, because I've never ever seen an animal rights ad this violent get through. But after I saw this, I went down the rabbit hole and just watched so much. I watched so much content from them. And it's like all the same. Like, this ad is sitting at 1 million views, so I can't be the only person that saw it, but there's countless channels and new accounts constantly. They're always making new accounts to avoid what I assume are bans, right? Where they just upload stuff about the great leader, Ching Hai, and there's lectures from her about how the world works. She doesn't know how the world works, by the way. She's not a scientist, okay? Just saying. But they constantly keep doing this and making new accounts and new channels. By the way, go on twitter.com. You can find people who are going to people who are newbies to meditation and telling them to adopt the Ching Hai Kuan Yin method, which also sounds like a great way to indoctrinate people into cults because, you know, people on Twitter are very gullible. Now, this is just a hunch, but I assume this religion is much more of an issue in Asian countries. I don't know if she is necessarily a problem in Vietnam or what her relation is to the Vietnamese people, but I imagine we'll get some very interesting and colorful people in the comments today who would love to tell me otherwise. For example, from a lot of the research I did, I found that the Chinese government has had a real bone to pick with Ching Hai. They don't really like other religions coming into their country because they feel that it's quote-unquote anti-communist party, and they don't like that. So they have been actively trying to squash the religion, which, you know, I can't say anything else on, you know. Y'all know what's happening, so. Now, they aren't particularly huge in the West, but I imagine that they're gonna grow significantly soon. And here is my big game theory moment. Now, I've been watching a lot of like, and not like watching as in looking at videos, I've been kind of researching and looking at a lot of this rebirth of Western spiritualism and mysticism. It's growing pretty rapidly. I mean, I assume that there are people in the audience that are Wiccans, and they will love to tell me because I made fun of them one time. And, you know, apparently that's the religion I can't make fun of. So, you know, Christian church, they get on all the time, but, you know, you can't do it to the Wiccans, right? But between things like that, worshiping Egyptian gods in the year 2020 and 2019, black magic, all these other things are coming into vogue almost in a way that came with yoga and meditation, where they went from mindfulness practices, they're now kind of going into spiritualist practices. In a day and age in the West when there's a lot of doomsday soothsayers and panacea peddling snake oil salesmen, religions like this tend to thrive. And this is because in times of uncertainty, doomsday religions just do really well. People are looking for some grounding in times of uncertainty. For those of you that might have gone through like a Religion 101 course in college, for example, there was a thing like the ghost dance religion, which is a religion that grew in popularity during the times of, you know, a Western European manifest destiny over here in the West. Basically, this Native American religion was founded on the idea that Jesus would come back and save the Native Americans from the white man, and he would like destroy the world and all the Native Americans would be safe, right? But this religion existed in a time when people actually thought the world was ending, because let's think about it. There were diseases that the Western Europeans brought over unintentionally. They just have immunity to things like smallpox. So smallpox ravaged the population, and they assumed, you know, it was really divine intervention, the sign of the end times. And if you're curious, Native Americans actually adopted Jesus pretty easily into their pantheon of gods. There's tons of stories about Jesus existing with the Native Americans and stuff like that. There's tons of stories like that. But as we see with doomsday religions, they usually have to keep pushing back the time because the end times never come. And what happens is that after enough time of the end times not coming, the religion dies off. Ghost dance, particularly interesting because of the massacre at Wounded Knee. Yes, that's the religion they were worshiping when that happened. So they were wearing what they assumed were bulletproof shirts, and when bullets went through those shirts, that essentially killed the religion because, you know, the shirts weren't actually bulletproof like they had been telling themselves. Ching Hai is just the latest example of using uncertain times to essentially profit and build a religion. It's using the uncertainty of the Backstreet Boys World Tour in order to get people to go vegan and start buying $7,000 jewelry. Now, I don't know if the fact that we consume animals is causing mass extinction and this isn't a debate about vegans or whether or not we're living through the final stranding. But what it is that somebody is running something and it seems a little sketchy, which is why this video is existing. But let me just say, it's all just my opinion. It's just my opinion. And this isn't to say if you practice Kuan Yin method, you're a bad person, or if you participate in this, you're bad. You know, it's all about how you act towards others in terms of your religion. In fact, from what I've been reading, most worshippers of this religion are really classified as just super vegan hippies. Point being is, I just don't want to end up as the next mysteriously not alive person because I said something a little less than savory about an interesting group. Like, look, trust me, I'm certain there are bad people that follow Kuan Yin method, right? Just as much as the institutions of the Catholic Church also have some issues, you know, the whole not talking about making sure the altar boys become men thing, you know, and they're not the only religion that has problems. I mean, all you have to do is look at that radicalism issue that's happening to, you know, the Middle East that's causing a lot of in-sync members. Point being here is it should be a peaceful religion, and if I see a bunch of random comments saying that we're gonna take care of you, I just don't even know what I'm gonna do anymore. Right? It's not the religion that's bad. What I'm saying is it's the people who commit crimes in name of a religion that are bad. Look, if anything, this video is just a matter of knowing where some of your money goes, right? If you are a person who partakes or has gone to the Loving Hut or has done any of these things. You know, you gotta be able to come to your own conclusion whether or not you're comfortable with giving money to this thing or supporting this thing, right? It's a matter of knowing where your money goes, so that way, you know, you can still sleep at night. Look, all I say is spread peace, love, and positivity, and I'll be able to vibe with you. Like, I don't mind, right? But otherwise, you know, my name's FPS Diesel. Subscribe to the channel. This was a very long video.
Problems in the paper, put my problem paper, dial up the deputy, mad at my brown. Problems in the paper, put my problem paper.